So this is where you add a file.
Yeah.
So let's do this. I'll go to the desktop. Let's see. I think I got something on the desktop. Going to an event. I don't think I built this one yet.
Okay.
Right. So I just clicked on that and brought it in. Did you see that? You want me to do it again, or did I go?
No, I got that part. I got
Okay.
that.
And you know how to drag that down here?
Yeah. So go ahead and pull it down. So you're pulling it down to this space right there where the plus
Yep.
sign is, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And then I'll walk you through some of these other things. All right. So one of the magics that I like, I'm just going to go right here for now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm blocking in the middle. Now, this button right here, which you can get to somewhere else, where it says color adjustments. If you click on that, it brings up this screen, which is, all right, so let me get out of that. Let me go back here. Let's see. This is where we were. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This button down here, more tools.
Yeah.
So it's also up there, but this is the shortcut. So when you're clicked on this row here, now you can do all these things. You see how they're lit up and they're not. That's kind of obvious, but I'm just pointing it out. So
Okay.
this button here, this magic enhance, it's like a magic wand to me.
Okay.
So I've dragged this in, especially when I've done my own videos, and it kind of color corrects, and if there's lighting issues and stuff, it's not perfect, but for an inexpensive software, it's really, really helpful.
Okay.
Okay. So that's how I get a little bit cleaner thing now. The other thing I usually do most of the time is I'll go to the crop feature.
Okay.
And now let's just say, for example, you know, I can do just about anything I want. I'm sure you understand how a crop works, but if this is really the shot I'm trying to get for this piece,
Yeah.
and now give it a second to catch up. And so that's how I can do that. And of course, now there's overlay.
Okay.
The overlay is if you want more than one video on the screen. I don't do that very often,
Okay.
but I do want a logo a lot of times, right? So to do that, I need to have that file. So
Okay.
I'll go File, Import, add file, and I have a folder with logos in it somewhere. Here we are. So I'll go ahead and do that.
Okay. Let me ask you a quick question.
Yep.
So when you did that color correction thing, you pulled that down to this band here and just kind of dropped it in, and it did it for every
Yep.
frame?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So the habit to get in my opinion, and I didn't used to do this, but I would kind of forget to do that. So now I've chopped this all up to do different effects or to adjust audio or to do any number of things, which I'll share with you in a minute. And then I'm like, so now I got to go back and I got to kind of highlight all of those pieces and then drag that in. So one of the first things I do now, and granted, keep in mind, I've got a pretty good idea what I'm doing these days on certain ones. And I have a pretty good idea what I need to do to make her voice, in most cases, sound how I want it to sound.
Yeah.
And so I have some presets. I'll show you that in a minute too.
Okay.
The other thing, this little down here, this does that. So if I'm editing, I need a really tight edit, or trying to follow the audio.
Yeah.
These are great. So now if I know that I want to have a cut there, so to speak, I can, scissors are my shortcut for that. Bang. All right. Now let's just say in this example, I want this to sound different than this. Maybe it's a different person and I need to adjust the volume, or it's, you know, something else, or I want to mute it for a second. I can do all those things independently, but you can see how much easier it is as you really stretch that out to, whereas if when you're in here and it's like this, and if you don't know any better, I didn't know any better for weeks. I didn't even look at that because I didn't take a class. I just started plunking around. So you can see if I'm trying to get right there, I can't tell. Does that make
Gotcha.
sense?
Yeah, that's sort of
Right,
like if
now,
you're on a I don't know, I have a friend who was a graphic designer, and so he would like blow up pictures and see like the various pixels. So this is kind of a parallel to that.
yep,
Okay.
yep, that's it exactly.
Okay.
The other
Okay.
thing is, you had made reference to having audio underneath something else.
Yeah.
So it isn't just you talking for the whole video. So that's why I picked up that one. I recently started doing that a lot. I didn't used to, I would just have words come up. But what I found was, not that these videos are long, they're 3, 4, 6 minutes, but the more things I can do. So now let's just say, for example, I want to do that. All right. So let's say I'm just going to make believe here. So first of all, I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to cut that. And the reason I want that is this little piece of audio, I want that piece of audio to be underneath a picture. So it's always important to always do this. And then boom, you're back on the screen. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I had the little fire crackling when she said, get out and something.
Yeah.
So here's how you do that. So that's the clip of my audio. Once I've listened and I know it's here and there. Now, the other thing is, I'm jumping around a little bit because I've not done this before, bear with me. But let's just say this is where, in fact, let me do this. This would probably be a good idea. I'm going to go backwards a little bit. There we go. All right. So let's say I've spread this out and I'm trying to find right where she says, or right where you say, and the next thing that's important to note, and then that's where you want to cut it. Let's just say I found it right there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you right click on here with this, using this, there are a lot of things. One of them is add a marker.
Okay.
So now you can actually type in edit, blah, 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 blah. All right.
Okay.
So, but that also tells me when I come back to here and I click back down here, once I line that up, I know that's where I want to do the cut. And I can also go up there if I'm not sure what that is, and it'll bring up my note that says, start the audio here. Don't do that if you have a whole bunch of edits and you need to remember what you're doing for yourself. That's just what's one of the things I've learned. So I'm going to go back and do this. So now, this is the piece of audio we want to have underneath something other than your video. So I go up here. I'm going to use some of the ones that are built into my software just for this example, but you can go in and click, 100 different files if you want, and just load everything in that you think you might use. You don't have to use everything that you import, but then that's where you find it is under this media bin here. So import it here, drag or click, and then this is what, make sure everything goes in there. So now here's some of their sounds, like sound effects. Have you seen this yet?
I have not really gotten into that yet, no.
Okay, so I don't know if you'll need it. I do on a lot of the stuff that I do, but there's like when I do Corny the Clown.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But there are other things that may or not be helpful. I use the laugh track.
Okay.
But that may not be something that you necessarily need. But here's the backing. So you can click on them, and then in the little screen to the right here, if it's a video, whatever, it gives you like a little sample. So if you're looking for some background music, then you can just listen. I know what that is. That's terrible. Let's try this. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. So if I wanted to use this, I would drag it down. I can drag it down. And there. So now I have the track of audio that's the music and the track that was in your video. And then there's ways you can go in. So for example, these little adjustment bars here.
Yeah.
I'm highlighting this audio. I can now do some adjustments. There's my volume. You can use the slider, or over time, you probably get used to the percentage. I can speed it up or slow it down. I can fade it in, and then I set how long the fade is. So 1.5 seconds. It does half-second intervals. So a lot of tunes, I'll just have a half-second fade in, and I'll have that first slide fade in, maybe a half second. So when the video starts, everything kind of comes up in a little mini fade, if you will. And then when I fade out, if I've got a little bumper or an outro that I go to, so like the little living your best life one you saw, I use the same thing at the end, and then I use a 1.5 fade that fades out with it, and then the video fades by the time that ends. And you can adjust all of that. What's neat about this software, you go over to those like 3 dots here when you click on it.
Yeah.
Those, and it works the same way here. So if I wanted to, I can do this. And even if I take this and delete it, I can still stretch this out. I don't have to, I don't have to undo it. That's what this is. This is your undo. I don't have to do that. I can just stretch it out and kind of regain it, whatever, which will make sense once you start digging in.
Okay. So Don, from where the green starts to, I guess, wherever it would end, that's how long the music is playing, and it's playing while she's talking?
Yep.
Okay.
So I'm going to bring it back to the beginning here. If I make this a little smaller. So now I'm clicked on here. If I go down to the tools again, I'm going to scroll to the bottom, audio editing. So if I want to, I can click on a noise removal. I don't know how well that works, but I do it from time to time if there's noisy stuff where it's being recorded. And then the equalizer. Now, in my case, when Andy does videos, I've gone in and set that preset, and that works 99% of the time for her. And it sounds better than just a flat EQ. And then all these are presets that over the time, at the beginning, I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but but a lot of them now, like I've got one for me, I got one for Ma, I got one for Andy. But here is some generic ones that they have in of voice enhancement that does just a little bit. They've got a music one. So if you bring in music, it tends to have a flat response no matter what. But if you want to give it just a little boost, that's the one they recommend. But you can also select one of these depending on what you're building. Okay. So what I will usually do is if it's just background music, I usually leave it how it is. If I'm featuring a snippet of it, so maybe there will be a time where I'll have, if it's more than 2 seconds, I won't mess with it. But let's say, for example, I'll create a video and I've got 15 or 30 seconds of no talking. So I'll fade the music up, and I'll show you how to do that in a second, where you can adjust that up and down in the middle of the video. And then I may actually enhance that music, because now the music is taking a little more of a front and center than just, or if I'm actually playing a video that has music in it, then I want that to sound a little bit better than just kind of subtle in the background. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then again, once I got that, I have this volume option. So a lot of times for me in the videos I do, I usually have the background music about 6%, 12%, 10%. So I can change that right there.
Okay.
And now this video is much quieter. Takes a minute for mine to catch up.
Okay.
A sleepover. There can be lots of
this
things
is how
you
it
do
loaded,
that
just to give you the control that you have.
Sure. Okay.
Ready, go. Ready, go.
Yeah.
Go. No, it's supposed to be gone. Oh, I see what happened. There we go. So here's how loud it came in initially.
are events and that are super fun to do. So let's talk
See,
about
so you
all
can't
the
hear
things
it.
that you need
Right.
Can't
to
hear
prepare
you.
for.
So that's how you can independently, and the same thing works if you click on this video one that has the audio. All right. So are you with me so far? I know I'm going very, very fast. I don't mean
Yeah. So
to. But go ahead.
no, I was just saying. So I think you're about to answer the question that I was going to ask. So if you highlight the video with her talking, you should have audio control over her volume as well.
Yep.
Like to bring
Yep.
her.
And that's how you do it. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And then I go down here and I adjust this one. I go up here and I adjust that one. Now,
Okay.
I'm going to come back and show you there are ways where I can have this audio track. I can cut it and I can go from 10%, and now maybe I want it 30% because this is just a feature of something else with just words, and then you're back live. All right. You can crop it, cut it there, change the segment kind of like this, right? We can do that, but that doesn't give you, if you want it to kind of sort of glide up and back as it floats in and out. So I'm going to show you how to do that in a minute.
Okay.
But what I want to do next is show you the little magic trick that allows you to, all right, so let's just do what we were talking about before I let myself get distracted. So in my software, I've got some background pictures,
Okay.
generic, nothing fancy, and a few sample videos. Okay, nothing super fancy. I use a couple of these from time to time. But let's just say in this example, I don't know if any of that would fit what you're doing per se. So I'm going to, for now, because we're trying to make it easy, let's just do this. So we're going to take, let's just take this for now. Okay. So let's just say that that's what you want to use. You got a background video or a background something where you said you wanted to. And up here, you can see if you click on these edges,
Yeah.
it sets there. If you look right here, it tells you you're at 43 seconds, 43.26 seconds into the video. So how long is that? Well, now you know, it's about 7 seconds. So if you need, it's 15 seconds approximately. That's how you can adjust that pretty quickly.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know how long this is. It doesn't matter. So watch this. I click down here. I right click, detach audio. That's the magic.
Okay.
Now I can glide this over here. I can line it. It kind of has some little grid action. So as I carry it over, it kind of wants to line it up, but maybe I want to give it like that split-second pause, for example. And then once I got that where I want it, I can hit the delete button on my computer, or you can right click and delete it. And so now it goes something like this. Hang on, let me fix this first just in case. Yeah, I don't want that. I want that to be like this for now, just for this example. Okay. So it would kind of go like this.
For when going to an event. So first, most important thing you need to know is, what do I bring to an event? So I always like to bring
Make sense now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that kind of what you were describing at the beginning?
Yeah, that was. So, I could import like a PowerPoint slide and put it in that same space, right?
Anything. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. And any kind of file will work there. A still, a video, like you said, a PowerPoint, JPEGs, just, I think PDFs are about the only thing that don't really work well in this. And every once in a while, all I have is a PDF. So I just I use my screenshot deal, and then it turns it into a PNG, and I can still get it and crop it, and all that kind of stuff. And these are croppable just like the videos. If a file you're given isn't exactly right, you can play around with that as well. Now let's do this. I made a reference earlier about audio, so let me make this a little bigger just so it's easier for you to see kind of what I'm doing. So she finishes talking. You can see by these little marks here. She finished talking about right there or so, right? So I'm going to go down here. The music's playing. In this example, I'm going to have the music come up. I'm going to get rid of this for now, and I'll do something fun with that in a second. But right now, approximately right there, if I'm down here now on the audio track, right? I right click, add a volume point. These are magic.
Okay.
So I'm going to do another one here. I'll show you what you might want to do with that in a second. Do the same thing here. This is how I end and start all the videos I do when I have like an intro or a bumper.
Oh, okay.
which is why once I get it set and it's kind of nice, then I can go from video to video and just slide the back end in. The front end is already set because I have a set intro. So now here's a case where you'd have to be a little ahead of what you're doing. But right now I'm going to change this to 50%. All right, only because that's how long I'm going to let it be. So from a 50%, when I pull that button down, see the percentage there?
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave that at 12. This is, I hit the button. I put my mouse down. It's 100%, but it's 100% of 50.
Oh, okay.
So it's easy to do the math. And I have over time, it kind of doesn't matter how I do this math. You can build this 5 different ways to get to the same thing. What I'm trying to create here is the music's going, and when it gets here, it goes up, and I featured something that doesn't have audio or talking, and then I'm back down and it's background and I'm talking. So I'm showing you how to do that. So now you can, while you're holding the mouse down, you can drag that as far. That basically, how long does it take to make that fade? See what I mean? I want it faded back down right before I start. That might be a little too fast, so I think I'll grab it, mouse down, move it in a little bit. So now you get something like this, even though this is going to sound terrible because I'm not trying to make it accurate.
Yeah.
So you can get an idea.
Be prepared for when going to an event.
Maybe a screen comes up or text comes on and off.
I always like to
that
bring
slick?
two just in case.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, and I threw that together in 5 seconds. Now, granted, I kind of know what I'm doing,
Yeah.
and I wasn't trying to be careful. It's just that once you kind of get a feel for that, and every time you click, when you save this video, not when you export it, but when you save it in this form, all those things stay. So imagine you just, all right, and when you do that, you kind of need to adjust your front. However, if this was a real video, I'd have to do the same thing at the front.
Okay.
While I'm having my little intro go, and then it slides down as you come on. Hi, I'm Linda, and I'm blah, 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 right? So you'd have to do a similar thing here. But next time you do a video, you can ultimately, where I'm clicking here, you can put your new video in the front. The audio will stay. Maybe you don't want that. That's what these little things do. See, when I do that, now this thing is attached. It stays. So wherever this goes, it goes. Sometimes that's important. If you got a lot of little things that we just created over here a minute ago, and you want all that you got a bunch of pieces, then you're going to want that like that. But sometimes you don't. Sometimes you don't want to necessarily keep it in the same place, because you know you're going to be moving out video. So you can kind of lock it in, or it can be free floating. And there's pros and cons to both depending on what you're doing. I use both from time to time, just depending on where I'm at and where I'm going. But let's just say, I'm going to show you an example of where you have to be careful when you do that. All right, so right now, let's just say I put a little cut there, right? These cuts are absolutely seamless, and you'll never see them when you watch the video, just so you know.
Yeah.
If you just cut something there, and most of the time when I'm doing this, it's because I want to do something down here with this piece of audio. I want to adjust, like, for example, that fire safety video. There were 3 or 4 times where, because she was outside, a big wind came through. So I did this, I kind of sectioned it off, and then I went in here, I clicked the tools, I went to the EQ, and then I have one in here that I made not too long ago. Where is it? Super windy outside. See how it basically just pulls all that low end out?
Yeah.
And so now that piece, even though you could tell there was something going on, when it's got that low end frequency in there, it's while she's trying to talk to you. So now I was able to just fix that. And as it goes through, it's at least a little less distracting, for lack of a better way to say it. Or if there's a background, something, I mean, I had one video she did outside and the dog started barking. So it took me a while, but I was able to fortunately go in and isolate, because she stopped, then he'd bark, and then she'd stop, and then he'd bark. But I was able to go into those barks and basically just cut that volume down to almost nothing. by doing just that. So
Wow.
that's another, and you can do elements of the video the same way if you want, but that's just one of the ways that I have the ability to kind of control elements that maybe when I was doing it didn't whatever. All right. Now,
Okay.
the next thing I'm going to show you is, let me look at my notes here. Separate the audio, we did that. Check EQ, we did that. Use the markers, we did that. Overlay, all right, I started there and then I got myself distracted. Let's go back there. Up to the top, media files, go to the media bin. So this PNG logo, you just drag it in just like the other things we did. So I'm going to say for this example, we want our logo to be on the whole thing. And I don't do that all the time, but sometimes I do.
Okay.
So you drag it. If you're going to do it on the whole thing, you drag it to the beginning then. Right now, see what happened? That's not what I want. I don't want it first. And I find mine to be just a little touchy on this.
Okay.
So once it's there, you want to drag it up here. Because what you're doing is you're adding, see these? This here is actually adds a track, if you will. If that makes any sense.
So when I was playing around with this the other day, I thought what I was trying to do was make kind of like this intro screen, and I think I did put it in front of, and then it kind of just stopped there. I'm like, what am I doing wrong here? So I think this may be answering that question.
And what I have experienced, the one thing that I'm critical of this program, and it may just have to do with either the quality of my video card or my RAM memory. Okay. But when I layer videos or layer things, this software does not like that.
Okay.
Now, it may not be the software. So, but I'm just letting you know that if you experience things where all of a sudden at the top up here, I'll see it kind of goes gray and it says not responding. Okay. So I'll cuss a little to myself. And then I have to exit out of the program by doing like one of these.
Yeah.
Task manager, go in, stop the program. I don't have to do that often, but every once in a while, especially if I have two videos.
Yeah.
But in this case, let's just, like I mentioned, so let's just pretend like I just drug that all the way to the very end. Now I need to figure out where that's going to be. So while I'm highlighting the logo, I go to the tools. I can go over here or I can go over here, same thing, overlay, logo. Now, see what it did? It threw it up in the corner. But in this video, because of where Andy took it, that's not going to work because that's kind of goofy.
Yeah.
Right? So I want it over here.
Mm-hmm.
And I want it a little bit bigger.
Uh-huh.
Which usually I don't. But, so now there is my logo over my video. So now when I go here, let's see how that looks. See if I like it.
Okay.
Get it playing. I must have done some editing there. Come on, play. There you go.
Hi friends, it's Andy here today on Living Your Best Life.
I'll show you the other thing that I do.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say, like I said, this is going all the way through. Well, let's say when this comes up, it just isn't, it's not conducive to what I want that to be.
Uh-huh.
If you know what I mean. In other words, I don't want the logo on this, whatever this little thing I'm interjecting in my video. It just isn't appropriate or it's not necessary. So I can do the same thing I just did a minute ago. I can cut that, drag this thing over here or click on it. All right. Cut it, get rid of it. I'm going to right click to show you to delete it. Mm-hmm. That stays there because we don't have this. We have them where they stay where they're going. All right. So now it looks something like this when it plays.
About all the things that you need to be prepared for when going to an event.
Obviously, right? And I'm back.
I always like
the other thing you can do, depending on what your video is doing, just like the video, even if it's a picture, or like a JPEG or whatever, you can adjust the fade in and out. So you click on these things again if you've highlighted the logo, and
Yeah.
you can tell it, in this case, fade in a half second. If you wanted this to fade out, you have a fade out. So now, just to kind of give you a little example what that might look like, it looks like this.
When going to an event.
See, now I didn't fade out the actual video. I could, but I don't usually. All right, how am I doing so far? Making sense?
Yeah. It's it's answering a lot of the things that I think I can see myself doing.
Good. I'll show you one other one then. This is a fun thing. I don't use many of them because most of my videos are straightforward, but I use a lot of these, what they call transitions, when I'm doing stuff like Corny the Clown, because some of them are just really fun. I made a happy birthday video, about 30 seconds for Faith at the office. Her birthday was yesterday, so I threw one together, and I used like 4 different ones because one pushes something off the screen and one pulls the paper back. I'll show you what I mean in a second.
Okay.
But when you have 2 videos and you want something smoother than just basically like a straight cut from one to the other, then I'm going to do this just so you can see it's 2 different pieces. So so you pick the gap or the seam or whatever, and we go up here. I just happen to know that this 4th one, but you can click them all, transitions. Okay. Now, usually it brings up a featured, and I just happen to know the one I like is just right hidden right there. Ken Burns Smooth. So it's like a fade from one to the other, sort of. And so this, like everything else, you drag it there. So I drag it there. It knows that it's the transition, so it looks for a seam, if you will. Now, I right-click this. I have some options. I can delete it. I can remove all of them. I can play. I don't ever do that. But the properties, this tells me how long is the fade from the time it starts to the time it stops. And you can kind of see that here, for example. So that's going to start about a second before the end of that clip and then go another second. To me, that's an eternity in what I'm doing, but it may not be for you for certain things. So you can adjust this to anything you want. So you can, so when I want something really fast, but I want to just smooth out the edge, if you will.
Yeah.
And I can go, if I go 555, that's basically saying it's going to take a little over a half a second from one to the other. And if I like that and everything in the video, I can click this button, and everywhere I've got a transition, it can be that same deal, or it can be just this one. There may be a reason where one's slower than the other. Okay. But now watch. In fact, I'm going to actually make this just so you know, so you can see the effect. Let's do this. That's what I want. 1 second.
Okay.
Which is kind of what I do most of the time. So I'm going to show you a little bit how that looks. Here we go.
Say you're at a Fusion Friday and you were always there to
See
help.
that? It was kind of subtle, but it kind of blurs, fades, kind of whatever.
Do that one. Run that back one more time because I think I missed something.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, let me do this real quick.
Okay.
Let me leave it at the 2 seconds.
Okay.
So you can see what's happening, and then we can slow it down. All right, so what I'm trying to do is basically, we have 2 different slides for one reason or other. Maybe I had to cut something out because there was a, I don't know, a mistake. You know, one of the things I've learned in doing the recordings, especially if you're doing it, let's say you're going along and you have a slip up or you forget something or you didn't say it right, and you want to hit it again. So think about the beginning of the sentence. Just say it. So it's like, so the second thing I want to make sure is you always never do this. Oh, darn it. I forgot to mention that. So you can go back. So the second, so you do that. So you just keep the tape rolling, so to speak. The second thing is you always never do this. You know what I mean? So now when you're in here with that, original file, you can clip that out. But sometimes you want to fade it. Like, for example, Andy does a show for us. I don't know, certainly doesn't apply to you, but I'm just trying to put context. Andy does a show called Music and Movement for little kids. And so she'll get up and say, our next song is all about silly songs that have to do with the days of the week. And we're going to do one, because today's Monday, about Monday. Ready? Here we go. Right. She'll turn around, hit a button that starts her iPad that plays the song, and then she sings and dances and clap your hands. And she'll do that. And most of the times from a sitting position, she'll then go back and stand up if it's a dance or kick your legs or whatever. So I will find the appropriate time where I'll cut that. Now I don't see her turn around and hit the button. I cut that right up to the point, right the second before the music starts. That little fader then makes that a smoother transition. Goes, so ready? We talk about Mondays, and then instead of turning around, the dang thing doesn't work. It plays the wrong song. I can take all that out and kind of smooth that up a little bit. All right, so here it is with a slow or a longer 2-second transition between these two clips. When it plays here.
So let's say you're at a Fusion Friday and you were always there to help.
See that, how she went blurry for a second?
Yeah.
Now here's what's hard about demonstrating this feature. Here's what's hard about it. It's the same person who was almost in the exact same position. So it looks goofy. Because why is she out of focus? All right, here's when it is really helpful. Sample videos. All right, so I'm just going to bring this in here. So let's just say you had another video or different video, or you decided you want to, you're talking about, an exercise, or you're talking about a technique or something that you want them to do. And so you've done a separate video that demonstrates that you're not talking, and then you can talk underneath it. So now I want this transition from me talking into the camera to this other video. Okay, so now I'm going to bring it back to a second and give you the context, which I think this will help make a little more sense.
Okay.
Fusion Friday, and
see, that was smooth.
Yeah.
Smoother. Now, if I get rid of it, and you can just see the abruptness, then that might be okay.
Friday, and
see, so it's how you're building it. The video that I showed you earlier with the fire safety, I did not put transitions in on that, because some of those cuts, when Andy would go, so the first thing we want to do is know our exit. Whenever there is no pause after the step one, where I want to put this little insert in, for lack of a better term, that says step one, or get out of the house, or whatever whatever the slide needs to be. And so if there isn't a pause, I don't have, because then what's happening is you still need that fraction of a second to fade back in. If you don't have it and you're kind of fading it, to me, that's a little wonky. Now, nobody in the world will notice, but if you made a few of these or 100 of these, then those subtle little things drive you crazy, because you now understand that I know that edit is just not as smooth as I would want it to be. And these are some little things that I don't expect you to remember or do right away, but these are little things that I've learned how to do. Now, let's take 2 seconds and go back to these transitions. Now, if you go to all, these are all the different categories over here on the left. So, or if you just click the all, they're all here. It's kind of the same thing. But if you want a blur effect, so then you can click on it like we talked about the video, and in this screen on the right, you can get a sample. So here's their sample.
Okay.
That's pretty smooth. So we could put that here. I'm going to put a second on it. And I used this back in the day for a while, until I found this Ken, whatever it was, one.
Fusion Friday, and
see, that's smooth too.
Yeah.
And I go through phases after I was like, I want something different, right?
Yeah.
So, and there's 3 different versions of that. Then there's a fade. I use this at the very beginning. I use this one all the time. See if will it replace that? I've never done that before. Let's see if it does. Yeah, fade to black. Right. So now what it does is basically fades out to black and refades into black. And there are times I don't use it very often, but at the beginning when I didn't know what I was doing, that's all I knew. So I would do this.
Friday, and
because I thought that softened it up. I didn't realize these other things. But, and you can make that as long as you want, as short as you want. But as you can see, there's all kinds of them. And if you wanted something a little more dramatic, some that, should we have fun just for a second? Let's just have fun for a second. I'll show you an example where transitions can be a lot of different transitions. This actually be faster than if I do anything else. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Where is it? Oh, here it is. All right, so watch this. This is very short.
Uh-oh, guess what day it is? Guess what day it is?
Oh my goodness, it is your birthday!
Super!
I didn't think you were having these anymore. But listen, nobody looks as good as you when they're only 37. You're 37, right?
Yes!
Hope you have the best day ever. Happy birthday, Trey.
That's what I sent to Faith. I didn't have time. I didn't know it was her birthday. I did not have time to work on something. So I threw that together from pieces of other ones, quite frankly. And then I just just restarted that Beatles track underneath from the beginning. And she thought it was great. And I'm like, well, it's not my best effort, but ordinarily I would have Andy or McKinney send me a little clip so I could wedge it in, but I didn't have time. But But anyways, you can see how the screen goes sideways. You can go up, down, sideways. It can swirl in, it can swoop out. I don't know in a professional setting that you need that very often. There's also one called a page turn or something. I use this with Corny the Clown between jokes. And you can actually set, again, if you do that at 1 second, it goes, and the other one that's kind of cool is if you're changing topics, like I am from one jokester to the next. That's kind of cool to me.
Yeah, that was
especially when it's really fast. It goes, all right, let's say hi to Paige. You know,
right.
So, so that's transition. So I'm going to draw your attention to the left.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I'm keeping up here.
Sorry.
When you cut, when you use the scissors to cut, you're cutting to splice in something, right?
Potentially, or maybe you want to just change. I'll give you an example.
Okay.
This video is very static.
Yeah.
Because it's just Andy. It's 5 minutes of Andy standing there yakking.
Okay.
But if you actually recorded a video that there's more motion and other things going on, or other people in it or in and out of it or something, then there may be times where you just want to edit a piece of it or edit 10 seconds of it. Not necessarily cut it out or put something in, but just edit it. So just like when we made the edit. So I'm just going to give you a generic example. Okay. So we use this piece here.
Yeah.
Now, I can't think of an example right now, but I'm going to make one up.
Okay.
I want to put something on this that's unique to it. So I don't know what a good example would be, but let me just say this. So, all right, and I'll use this example. All right. For that 5 seconds, I want just her head. As terrible as that looks. And so now here's what happens.
If I'm somewhere away from family, I need to know who's in charge or who to get help from.
Now, if I flip this back, I'm going to, who's in charge? I'm going to get something. So then I drag it back out like where it used to be, hypothetically, right? Again, we're just having fun. So now, I hit the wrong button. Sorry.
That's okay.
But anyways, you can see where we go. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm back.
I need to know who's.
I didn't hit another thing, but
So
you see what I'm saying?
if I delete something there, then I have to be careful not to delete parts of whatever the message is or what have you, right? So if I hit delete, yeah, okay.
All right, so watch this. I'll show you though. I made a reference to this earlier, but I also, I'm going 100 miles an hour, so there's no way you probably could have really understood the context. So let's do that. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just listen to this for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. Go.
I need to know who's in charge or who to get help from.
All right, I need to know who's in charge. So let's say I just deleted that and I'm playing around and I'm doing some other things. And then I realize, oh no, I cut that off too short because I need that first part.
Family.
I need the who's in charge. Well, this is what I was referring to earlier. So now I get my thing there. I hold the left mouse button down. I can drag it and it magically, because see, somehow it saves everything that was underneath it or everything was part of that first edge of the file. So even though I cut a piece out, it's still hanging out there. I don't know how they do that.
Okay.
So in my generic example here, where I cut out, I need the who's in charge. I could drag that. All right, I think it's here. Let me see. See what I mean? So now I get it.
Away from family. I need to know who's in charge.
See what I mean? So I'm like, oh, I cut off a word, but there, now I got it. Whew, that was close. Does that make sense? So I cut, so in this example, what I was trying to illustrate is I cut a little piece out and then I deleted it and then realized either some or all of that I need back.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So it's still there. It's just not there right then. Okay.
And then it disappears once you export it and basically save it as its final MOV file. Then all those things are gone. It doesn't like reappear if you were to try and edit it after the fact. The other thing I did one time, but only one time, was I separated the or detached the audio because I wanted to have a little fun with myself. And this isn't going to apply to you, but I'm just going to show you it might be applicable to something else. So I'm hitting Control C, or you can also right click and copy. And then I'm going to go right here. Basically at the beginning where it is, I'm going to right click and paste it in. Now I have two of them. This one, I'm going to go, oh, I just happened to already be there, into audio. And there are some audio effects. And there's all these effects. So you're not going to need sound effects, but what, let's see, what might be fun. It's a female. So on one of them, I did this. Watch how wacky it can be. Here we go. Go.
So let's say you're at a Fusion Friday and...
Okay.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying you would necessarily do that in a professional video.
Yeah.
There have been a couple of times, like I did when I do my Corny the Clown one, the intro, I have one of the little things that says take one. So I go, Corny the Clown, blah, blah, or stand up, sit down with Corny the Clown, take one. And then the music starts, hey, everybody, blah, 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 Corny the Clown live from his parents' basement. I went back in, did what I just showed you. And then the second one, I put in the super high pitch. And then I think I did something else to it as well. So you can hear just enough, but it has this wacky cartoony sound.
Gotcha.
So like, how about that? Now, I don't know where that's applicable yet, but the reason I'm showing you is to show you that there's almost an endless amount of wacky things that you can do once you start understanding how to pop in and out of some of these basic features.
Yeah.
But this was something that, well, the reason I'm showing you some of that, or you can line them up a little bit different. Just really depends on how you want to do it. So here, let's do this. Let's go to the left over here, and I'll quickly go through what's in here for you. So this is where we started. Import files, click here, go to your folder or whatever, and bring them in. This shows you what you've got in there. So when it's time to put new stuff in here, you drag it from up here, from where you already imported there. This is their preloaded sounds. Thank you. Thank you. No, thank you. Their built-in music. There's quite a few of them, at least in my version. I don't know how many the version you have has. Sample videos, we already kind of found some of those. Still backgrounds. I don't think these you have to pay for. So this is, and these are really, really cool. And one day it might make sense for you to spend 30 bucks or 20 bucks or whatever they are and get one of these. I have just figured out a way to make my own. And so I've been and I find some on the internet that I download and I have that I don't get myself in trouble with. So that's everything up here. The second bullet are filters, is what they call it in the world. What's good here for me, I don't use this very often, but if I wanted something retro, there's one in there that looks like old-fashioned days, like an old tube TV. There are vignettes. Vignettes that's kind of like what I just described. See what it looks like that. They have some where it's scratchy. You're probably not going to use that. There are some where I just started using this recently, where I'll put this in the background, see how it kind of blurs it. But watch what I can do. I can, you drag it down here, if this is the file, and you click on the star, it tells you all the effects you've dragged down. This tells me how blurry. If I go like this, you can't see it. But if I take that down here, it's just slightly blurry. Yeah, let me make that 9. Let it catch up a second. Okay, now she's a little blurrier. Now, why that might be worth considering in the future is the next button. Oh, we just did the transitions already. So this is the text. They call them titles. So the basic is the one I usually live at. And right here you got fading. And then the other one, simple text, where it just pops on, no effects. It's on and then it's off. But I use the fading one, right? So I'm going to drag that down kind of up top here. See here where it gives you that blue thing? That's where they'll sit up top. Now, if I wanted to follow the whole piece, come on, I can adjust. So for this generic example, I'm going to get rid of this, I think, for now. And this. For this example, I'm just going to have it on this, okay? So I made this file kind of blurry, right? It's 9% blurry. So now see when I put text on it? You double click on this, you go over to your screen, double click that or highlight something or whatever. I do Control A for select all, and I put okay, now once I got my text in there, I can go over to the left, and this will import whatever font you have on your computer. So like, for example, I try and have similar fonts for each thing, so there's a little consistency. For example, but there's several things I'm going to show you here. Unfortunately, we're recording. So let's just say for now, I want something big and bold. Okay. If I pull this side to the left, and I pull this side to the right, come on. My computer's telling me it doesn't want to do all this because I got so many other things open. But so I put this down here. I talked about some text down below. So Andy's talking. I want that to come on. I want it bold. I said I want it bold. There we go. All right. Now you can go in here and do the font size if you want, or what's kind of or left and right justify. over here, you can change the color.
Mm-hmm.
You can add a shadow. I'm
Mhm.
sure that these things are kind of obvious to you, but I'm going to do
Yeah.
that for now. Now, here's what I think is amazing. Watch this. I don't know what size that means, and every font's different, so it freaks out different every time. So grab a corner of the text box, and as you pull it kind of diagonally,
Yeah.
see that? It just,
Yeah.
then I'm like, that's the size I'm looking for.
Right.
Okay,
right.
good. Now I can move, if I want it in the middle, if I want that to be on 2 lines now, I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
See what I mean? Now,
Yeah. Yeah.
this text over, let's just say this was a picture, and I'm working on a video right now that talks about dealing with difficult people. So I downloaded a bunch of pictures off of one of those websites that's like a couple on the bed and one's holding their head down. That, you know, that might be a difficult conversation. No one's going to really pay attention to that in the world that I'm in, but that's a cool picture when I fade away to always, never, try this.
Mm-hmm.
And then the words are over it. The picture is faded about, blurred at about 10%. And those letters jump off so much more easily than if the picture's in focus.
Yeah.
So that may or may not, you might have something where you cut away to a certain thing and you use your logo, or you might use a picture that, you know, and you do that consistently in a particular video as you float in and out of view versus other things. But then blurring that a little bit may help you, or having it even blurrier may help. But now this one, because it has the fade, I made reference earlier how you can adjust that.
Yeah.
Up at the top here,
Mm-hmm.
it's on text. If you go to the clip, that's what they call it, animation speed. So I want it as fast as it can be, or you know what, actually 300 will work for this one. Apply. So now it looks something like this.
Family, I need to know who's in charge.
And fade off.
Okay.
Oh,
We're always
that
there to help.
freaked out some
Or
things.
if you're at
You
a
get the
dance,
gist, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So if I were to, so you put that
always-
text in the text band, I guess, right?
Yep. Yep.
Is there any, you would never put it down on the video band, right?
No, it won't let you.
Won't let you. Okay.
Yep. And that's where the kind of, I'll use the phrase layering comes in.
Okay.
Now I've done videos where, all right, so let me give you an example. All right. I'm gonna give you an example of how to layer the audio or layer the text so things can cue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So to do this quickly, I just did Control-C to copy it.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 seconds later, I put it here. So now I double click on that one. Now it's like, where is it? Well, actually, because I have it there, it's the same text. It was over the top of it.
Uh-huh.
Stop, drop. Okay, and then I'm going to do it one more time. Paste it back in. Double click on that one, drag it down here. Come on, come on. Yeah, she's freaking out now. She just doesn't want to do this. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Come on. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm going to tighten this up just for this effect so you can kind of see it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say the video was that long, and that's all the, you know, so you click it here, that's all the farther I needed to do that.
Okay.
You can do that. You don't have to necessarily put an effect. It just makes it a little bit cleaner because this thing drags right there to you.
Okay.
Now, watch kind of how that will work.
I need to know who's in charge.
Slick, right?
Yeah.
If you like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it allows you to do any number of things.
Okay.
You can bring, you know, a certain line on. You can finish a sentence if you're looking for that effect. And the other thing that's important on these is, so in the context of what's coming up, this, you click on this, and then this is how you, does it come in with it? Does it wait here? No, that's, and she goes, and boom, that's when it's something. See, so you have complete control. Maybe you want it to fade out equally how it faded in. You have infinite control over all of that. And every one of these, even though I copied it, right? I can go up here now and say, all right, I double click on this box. I get in here, I highlight it. And now I can go back over here to text, and I can make that this, and I can make it this. So just because I kind of copied and pasted in, all I'm trying to do basically is create the template that I can then go in whenever I want to do it.
Got you.
And I can work with it. I don't have to drag in a blank one and start all over necessarily. Now, most of the time, that is going to be probably the same type of font if you're having more than one on a screen. And so, so that's why the copy and paste, then you kind of drag it out of the way, but it allows you to line it up. So there are times where I'll have a sentence that goes here that says, what do I need to bring? Question mark. And then as Andy will, or your mom will say it, I'll put a mask. And then it'll, you know, even though I'm copy and pasting it, and then blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And then I leave it on the screen for a second. That looks really cool to me. And it helps tie it in with as they say it. And especially for the audience that I'm creating these videos for, my opinion is, and Andy and McKinney have kind of signed off on that, is it, so if I do one at a time, if I say one at a time, I can have the screen reveal one at a time. It's easier for both of those, the visual and the audio, to sync up in their brains. But if I have that whole line come up, and so the things you want to bring are a mask and then a water bottle, but it's 4 things on the screen. Does that make sense? When I'm
yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does.
So that's just a very simple, I'm sure there's probably even a better way to do it, but that's just how Don does it, because I know how to do it.
Yeah.
And it allows me to have control. So for example, if I wanted to do that, some version of that in this little example, I'm on this top one. So I can squeeze this because I don't need it centered. Put it over here. See that? Boom.
Yeah.
Let's say I want to leave the roll one there, but the drop, I want to put that at the back. You know, just, we're goofing around here, obviously, right? And come on, move. There you go. So, see? So now when it, and I can have them all come on at the same time or not. If I wanted those to be different colors and different fonts and different something, well then, yeah, I could create 3 separate lines or, you know, text boxes or whatever you want to call it, and have them each be a different thing. And I can still have them all come on and off at the same time if I want to, because that's all you got to do is just, and then once you get a little bit of the hang of this, you're going to realize that, like, for example, here, if I want this to kind of sync up, first of all, once I've listened to this and I know that I like it to come on when she starts that word or that whatever. And so now I'm just going to give you an example of see how close I got.
Okay.
I don't even know what the word is, obviously, but come on.
There to help. Or if you're at a dance
See,
or a
if
party,
that was
find out who's in
roll
charge
on
of
the
help
floor.
resource so that you can add some.
So now it's coming in right
Yeah,
there.
she's talking. And I'm gonna just kind of extrapolate and say, I'm gonna ask, I think I know the answer to this question. So if you wanted to take that roll and then find some kind of cool slick transition where it's actually rolling in, you probably do that as well, I imagine.
Yes.
Okay.
And how you would do that is that's where all these are. So I picked the basic one because I'm usually just texting, but some of my intros or some of my more fun videos like this one, watch this. So if you drag that down here, which is what we've been talking about the whole time.
Yeah.
and then it gets in there. There we go. So now you can go in and you'll edit it. You put your own text in,
Yeah.
change the color, whatever you want. You can go in like we did before, do the clip up here.
Uh-huh.
If you want that, that went pretty slow. I want that at like almost max speed.
Mhm.
So now, just to give you an example while we're doing this, it could go something like this. Ready, go. Ready, go. Ready, go.
No. Where are the restrooms? Sometimes you
So
need to know.
same thing. And so all of these, now for intro stuff, you got a few things like this while we're at this topic. This is pretty cool. And you can make that text, any text and any size. You can make that line any color, for example. You can move it anywhere on the screen. So once you start understanding, these are just suggestions, but they
Yeah.
bring them on and off that way. That's pretty cool. Now, some of these fancy ones like this one, that once you pull that in, you can't put a shadow on them. Some of them are just the text. So if you like that shadow effect, sometimes you don't always have it. Here's another one. I don't know how you'd use that,
Yeah.
but you could. Here's one that's the shadow, kind of what I do, but that doesn't, that one's on and off, but with the shadow. What's the other one? Well, let's go up here to all. That makes it a little bit. All right, so this one's kind of fun. I've used this many times with the different videos. I have like, you know, like music and movement with Andy in the smaller one. Welcome to something with McKinney. This one's kind of fun. I've used that for different things in the past. Can change the colors. I showed you the one. I used this one recently. But when you change the font and you make that heart paint itself in less than 2 seconds instead of 4, that changes it. Thank you for watching my video. Here's my info. Right, or maybe you like this info if you like that, if it gives you a certain look. And as you can see, as I'm scrolling, you have, and this is the one I use for the happy birthday. I didn't put the end because I can pick my font. So that's where I changed it red and then happy birthday, Faith. So all those things, kind of back to, this one's kind of cool, only because I liked the colors. So I used that once.
Yeah.
And then one of the, this one I don't use very often, this thought bubble thing.
Yeah.
There was one where we did happy birthday for your mom. And I got 4 or 5 of my buddies that we do all the programs with on a Zoom, and I recorded them. And then one of them was he calls her Miss Keeney. We laughed. Miss Keeney, you're the greatest, and I something, and I can't believe in your birthday. Okay, so he's rambling on. So I have that bubble pops up, and it says, she's so awesome, while he's talking. So, like I said, obviously you're smart enough to be able to click a button and see, but this one is actually almost cool, depending.
Yeah.
But some of that jazzy moving in and out fast stuff may not be as professional as you want. It just depends on what you're shooting for.
Yeah.
Or what you're trying to create, I guess I would say. And I know that there are times when I've drug, like for example, I'll show you one other thing just for future reference. Let's just say you want to do the heart one here. I mean, not the heart one, but now it looks like that's what I got to work with. But when I get up here, I can change the font to anything. Okay, that's number one. Number two, this heart, watch this. Where'd it go? See, so if I want that to look like this instead, I can't, obviously. So all I got to do is, so I mean, on one screen I had, if I remember right, it's a long time ago, I had kind of a medium-sized heart, and then the words over the top of it spread out, something like this. And then I just can't remember, that was a while ago, but when I got all done with it, it looked you know, once I jacked around with it for a while, it looked how I wanted. So when it came in, I got the effect that I wanted.
Gotcha.
Let's see if this will work. I don't know if it's
The
gonna
event, there's some
work.
things that you need to be prepared for. So, you want to
See,
know,
that's slow.
who do I get help from? If I'm
You know what I mean?
somewhere away from you,
So if that worked 3 times as fast, and that was what I was going for, that looks completely different than what the little template was that we were just playing around with.
Mhm.
This thing, you know what I mean? And when it goes
Yeah, yeah.
faster, it looks kind of cool. So for
Yeah.
example,
Yeah.
if I want it to go faster, I click on this, and let's just say, let's make it as fast as it can go. You just saw it go slow. So we'll just give it a shot, and then we can wrap up if you want.
Okay.
All right, 1, 2, 3, go.
you need to be prepared for. So, you want to know,
All right, isn't that a dynamic difference from the one that was
if
a
I'm
Slowpoke
somewhere away
Rodriguez?
from family,
Yeah.
So again, that just is all in the kind of what I feel is poking around and doinking around until you kind of figure out the things that you like for the applications.
Yeah.
And then what'll be good is once you get a little bit of some of this where it kind of makes sense to you,
Yeah.
then you're going to say, can I do this? And if you're not sure, you text me, you call me, you email me, whatever, and go, I'm trying to get this to do that. And I go, all right, remember how when you this? Yeah. All right, click the button that says that. Oh, there it is. Okay. Good luck with that. Right. Those conversations will be quick hitters because you'll have a little foundation, so to speak.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is really, really interesting. It explains a lot. I mean,
You can make a video right now.
yeah.
You know, even if you didn't remember everything, if you
Yeah.
went back and referred back to at least some of the stuff, and that's what I was hoping to accomplish today, at least, is because now you know how to import something, you know how to bring in different videos and cut them and crop them
Yeah.
and right click down here and detach the audio, and it ends up, you're like, oh no, where to go? It's down here.
Okay.
To see if you, and it's hard to see that. Now here's another thing, I guess. I have this where the bottom is as big as it can be.
Okay.
Some people do that. I don't, because I've got all these layers. And I find this so challenging when I'm in a hurry to find that skinny little thing to be able to go up and down.
Yeah.
I wish that was fatter. But anyways, but here's another thing I'll show you. If you click on these dots here, they
Yeah.
have to do with this preview screen. You can make it high res. So the only time I do that is if I want to see, if I'm doing something kind of unique, at least for me, with either the logo or text, because in here, sometimes I don't think they're going to be able to see that. Do I need to make it bold? And then when I watch, it's like, oh, I didn't need to. So the high res preview makes it a little easier, but it doesn't like doing that because it's trying to do edits. So it's not trying to make it perfect. It's trying to save that bandwidth, if you will, in this software for that. You can disable the guides. I don't do that very often. You can have the preview. So let's say you did some stuff and now you want to see it. So you can do there and boom.
Okay.
Now you can watch your preview in full screen instead of on this little screen, or you can unpin that if you want to make it a little bit bigger.
Okay.
You know, and so if right now I want to watch that and I don't need to have access to everything behind it, I can do that and still make some, you know, stop like right there, right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's where I want to add my marker.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
if I do that, it pops back in. I don't do those things very often, but you can, and there's probably 50 other things I could show you. Last thing is this screen. We didn't click on this button yet. I don't use these hardly ever because they're fun. And there's a whole bunch of them, you know, underneath this, or if you go to all, 1,000. But happy birthdays and according to the clowns, those are fun.
Yeah.
And then you can make them as big as the screen,
Okay.
or tiny. And then back to the last one, the tools or the effects. So that's the way you can get in and out of all the video ones that we had, or you can go to them over here. Oh, and see, there's stuff like animation where you can slide certain parts, and there's just so much stuff in here that you can do. I don't do much of it, obviously. Oh, and there's a slow motion option that's okay. But the other thing that, so let's just say there's a cool effect where, to me, where certain videos, if it doesn't have audio, or even if it is, but you're talking over it, so you want to make a reference. There's a lot of different things, and so you're kind of narrating something that someone's talking for a bit of time. So when I select the video, I go up here. Now I can slow that down. So if I want to go at 70% speed, so when I make promo videos, I'll say, welcome to Music and Movement with Andy. Andy tells stories, reads books, and does songs, and blah, 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 blah. And then we'll put that out if it's like a new program sometimes. So when I make those, I might grab little snippets of previous videos that are 3 or 4 seconds. And I tend to slow that down because I think that has a cool effect like this. I'll show you what I mean.
Away from family. I need to know who's in charge.
See that?
Yeah.
That's 70%.
Okay.